Hey there, Nova Whiteman, and welcome to another segment of Alignment Breaks. Now, in the last one, I promised you that I would give you at least another tool or tip to help you navigate this crazy season we call the holidays from a consciousness standpoint. Um, and help you stay in alignment during a period of time that can be very challenging to do so because we've just got way too much going on. Now, last time I talked about, connecting with those that we happen to see over the holiday season at, gatherings, parties, etc., family, friends, coworkers, community, out and about, all of that jazz with this like heightened, frenzied energy. It's like one thing to do that in everyday life, any other time of the year. It's an entirely different thing to do that when the energy is literally charged. Can you feel it? And I'm not even saying it's good, it's bad. It just is. It's a different type of energy. And then the holidays are over and you don't feel that anymore. So, there is a way to navigate that and navigate those sort of like components that are in play that can oftentimes make your experience way too stressful and anxiety ridden and just spit you right out of alignment, make it hard to get back in. Even though by design and in their with their intention, it's to do the opposite. It's to be, the best time of the year, the happiest time of the year, to engage in joy and wonder and magic and miracle energy and all that kind of stuff. And then by the end of the season, you feel like a little confused and dazed because you're like, did I have any of that? Well, you can. And it is conducive for that. But there are certain things that we need to be aware of and conscious to, and then do differently. So last time I talked about how to be, more connective in your interactions, excuse me, and using the energy of curiosity and wonder, like genuinely ask yourself, what am I curious to know about this person so that I can connect with them more deeply? And then listen with like deep active listening, like actually step outside of yourself and pay attention. And that's with the idea that hopefully they'll reciprocate, but if they won't, you'll experience it somewhere else by vibrational law. Today I want to take a little bit of a different approach and introduce or remind you of a very powerful technique, super high level, called changing your mind. Change your mind. And I don't mean it in the context that we coaches like to speak to, like change your perspective, change your perception. You can do that. You can attach different meanings to things, so then you'll have a different experience of them. Great, love it. Definitely always a place for that. But today, I want to talk about the more like common way of using that phrase, change your mind. Give yourself permission to change your freaking mind. So this season is very much marked by commitments, which could easily be a word replaced by the word obligation, right? There's tradition, but tradition can also be called obligation. So at one point it could have been and felt very valuable, or maybe it still is, but this year it's not, or at this point in time it's not. There's all these rules that our culture and society make up that if you break them, you don't dare break them, because that threatens you on some level, consciously or unconsciously, of not being accepted, of not belonging, of having this what's supposed to be unconditional love be very conditional and have it be withdrawn, taken away from you if you don't show up in a certain way, if you don't do things that please other people. And if you're watching a channel like this or follow my kind of work, then you are 100% empathic, whether you know it or not, or you're energetically sensitive, as I like to say. You're spiritually open. You've got like a bleeding heart, right? And with that comes people pleasing. Hang on, I think I'm going to sneeze. Thank God for the pause button. Didn't want to put you through that. So, people-pleasing tendencies, right, go hand in hand this time of year and are like the number one things that cause us stress. So we go out of our way to follow through on traditions and commitments that we made maybe even months ago, if not, weeks ago. that sounded good at the time, but energy moves, energy changes, things, new components come into the picture. And for whatever reason, when it comes down to it, you just might not be feeling it. It might not even be a big earth shattering thing like, oh, I'm sick, or, something, an emergency happened, these things that we've collectively agreed are okay to not follow through on a commitment or obligation. Or responsibility. We have all these words that we can use to describe these things, but it could just be as simple as you wake up that day and the energy just isn't flowing that way. And like I was saying, you're energetically sensitive, so you're going to notice that. And it's going to impact your mood, it's going to impact your experience a certain way if you honor that awareness to the energy having shifted, or you don't honor it. So in other words, if you don't honor it, it's going to feel like a frickin', you're going to drudge your way through it. You're going to dread it. It's going to feel tough. It's going to put you in a state of resistance, which means you're no longer in a state of alignment. Little orb went up there. I love that. You can rewind the video to see it. It spits you out of alignment, what I'm talking about. That's when anxiety can take over. That's when, like stress and bad mood, crabbiness, tiredness, overwhelm, you're more prone to getting sick because you're not honoring these things. Whereas if you do honor them and give yourself permission to just change your mind simply because you're not feeling it anymore, and let's please normalize that. Don't make up an excuse. Don't lie to the person. Just if you don't want to say, hey, I'm not feeling it, you can just be honest with them in a more general way, and say, I was really looking forward to this, and today it's just not in the cards for me, or I'm not in the right place, or, there's so many different ways. And honestly, if you're dealing with somebody who isn't going to get it, and you really don't want to deal with the fallout of that, just say something came up. It's not true. I mean, it's not a lie. It is true. But the thing that came up is your energy shifted. You're in a different state than you were when you made those plans. The other tip is to, have a little bit of wiggle room when you do make your commitments. That sounds great. I would love to go see that Christmas show with you. I'm going to wait to buy my tickets, though, if that's okay. Or, that's where it can get a little bit dicey when you have to actually purchase tickets. Let me use something a little bit easier. Yes, I'd love to come to your Christmas party. It sounds great. I'm going to plan on it, but heads up, I'm somebody who really honors how she feels the day of. And I want to come as my best self. You can use different language, right? Not everybody speaks that way. But my point is, be truthful about it, because even if they have a negative reaction to that, or they take it personally, or whatever it might be, that's their experience to have, so that they can then make decisions about how they want to work with this sort of energy. In other words, you're demonstrating them. Most of the time people are pissed because they're like, God, I wish I had the gumption and the courage to do something like that. They're not used to seeing it. But in my world, because I do practice this stuff, I practice what I preach, more often than not, most of the time, people are like, wow, that's a breath of fresh air. Thank you for saying that. You know what? I'm going to start saying that. I'm going to start being honest with people. Ripple effect. Cultural story shifts. This is how we do it. It takes the individual to start and be courageous enough to do that. And that's great. That's we want that. But really, the focus here is, let's consciously co-create a better experience of the holiday season for you if you are somebody who doesn't traditionally love it. Look to see what little areas you can shift, you can approach differently. And all of it's always going to have to do with honoring what you feel you need, what you need to stay in that state of greater harmony, congruency, alignment, just feeling good about it. Sometimes that means you just change your mind. You can change your mind. Things change. Conditions change. We're not all psychic. And even those of us who are intuitive and identify as psychic, we don't know how we're going to feel a week from today. So I do my damnedest to not make a ton of plans ahead of time, or to wait until I'm a little bit closer so I can sense the energy. These are just some of the things that I do to sort of, you can't account for all of it, but it does help. But at the end of the day, if you can't do that, give yourself permission to change your mind. Let the other person's response to that be whatever it is. That takes practice. I'm not saying that that's easy, but that's where you self-soothe. You tell yourself, like, hey, it's okay. I got to honor myself. Remember this phrase: I will not abandon myself. No, 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 I screwed it up. Two phrases. First one, I think this was Glennon Doyle's. I will never again stay in a room that requires me to abandon myself. This context that I'm talking about, that's what that quote is referring to. It doesn't always have to be a physical room having a physical conversation. It's this tendency to dismiss our own well-being in favor of another because we don't want to disappoint them. We don't want to wreck the tradition. We don't want to break the rules or anything like that. Well, sometimes they need to be broken. Sometimes traditions need to be revamped, or new ones need to be, just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean everybody likes it. And sometimes it takes pioneers to break that pattern. But at the core of it is you got to honor yourself first. That's all we can ever do. We can't get into each other's minds and figure it out for everybody, but we can for ourselves, and then just practice trusting. The other quote was from Conversations with God, is betrayal of oneself in order to not betray another is still betrayal. It's the highest betrayal. And this does not negate love your brothers and sisters, do unto others. It doesn't negate any of that. It's like we're all energetic beings. We have to manage our energy from the highest level of integrity and consciousness that we can. And when we do, we can trust what happens next. Might be little messy bits, but they eventually come together. Okay, that's longer than I wanted it to be, but let me know how that lands with you. Are you practicing changing your mind? Are you getting better at it? Do you want to get better at it? Best way to get better at it is just to do it. Rip off the Band-Aid, practice it. I'm sorry, I changed my mind, or things changed. Try that out. Let me know how that works for you. Like this video, share it, subscribe, all that jazz. Let's get these tools out there to more people, because again, we weren't taught how to do it. It's time that we all learned. All right. And if you want more of this alignment stuff, there's 2 super easy, reachable ways to do that. Get my book, Awaken Aligned: How to Navigate the Human Experience as a Conscious, messed that up too. The Human Experience as a Spiritual Being. I wrote the damn thing. Available in all formats, including audio. And you can go to my website, novawhiteman.com, and take my free 3-day mini e-course on how to raise your vibration, including what to do when you inevitably fall out or you're in that lower space. So important. Utter game changer. And it's free. All right. Until next time, guys. Happy holidays.